And one more question. What does it mean to be a woman in film?
It means it's really hard. And if you're a woman of color, then it's really, really hard. USC Annenberg's Inclusive Initiative released findings that 67% of the top critics reviewing the 100 highest grossing movies in 2017 were white males. Less than a quarter were white women, and less than 10% were unrepresented men. Am I saying that I hate white dudes? No, I'm not. But what I am saying is that if you make a movie that is a love letter to women of color, there is an insanely low chance a woman of color will have the chance to see your movie and review your movie. Other people besides white dudes like Star Wars and would love the opportunity to do a set visit. And I'm also saying I don't hate white dudes. I'm just saying I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. I want to know what that film meant to women of color, to biracial women, to teen women of color, to teens that are biracial. And for the third time, I don't hate white dudes.
Please rewind this cassette.
Listen, I get it. Brie Larson has said a bunch of dumb shit. She lacks tact, charisma, and can't help but put her foot in her mouth. And yeah, she could probably do some more squats. However, I don't get the super hyperbolic reaction to this movie. It's just another dull and mediocre comic book movie. We have seen this all before. Making daily videos about how much you hate this movie isn't going to change anything. First, it was the movie is going to get bad reviews. Well, that didn't really happen. Then it was going to bomb. That didn't happen either. Oh, well, it'll drop in its second weekend. Oh, wait. Now it's Disney bought all the tickets and paid off all the critics. Don't get me wrong, there was bullshit with Rotten Tomatoes, and it's worth bringing up. But is it that shocking that these companies have a political bias or a financial interest in stuff like this doing well? The weird thing about Rotten Tomatoes is people love to use it when something they like gets good reviews, and then attack it when something they hate gets the same. Just stop following Rotten Tomatoes. It's always been bullshit that was only useful as a way to find a collection of reviews you would have to search for previously. I mean, that's all I ever used it for. So is this movie any good? From Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, the directors of one of my favorite films of the last decade, Half Nelson, comes Captain Marvel, one of the worst MCU films to date. A mess of tone, story elements, and character motivations ripped from comic books and all sorts of movies. The central idea of a movie featuring flashbacks could work. It was handled well in Batman Begins. I also like the idea of a period piece that takes place in the 90s. Maybe we're finally done with 80s nostalgia and we can move on to another decade. I mean, Bruno Mars did it. I've never liked Carol Danvers. I know that she has a fan base out there, but usually when I meet people that are in that fan base, I don't need to talk to them very long before I'm like, yeah, I see why you like this. But in my eyes, Captain Marvel was always a low-tier Marvel character. That doesn't mean the movie had to be bad, but this is shockingly sloppy for an MCU film. It's almost as if we went backwards to a more simple and goofy time for comic book movies. This reminded me of Green Lantern with better acting. I've just seen it all before, and I've seen it done much better. I like the young Sam Jackson thing and some minor gags and set pieces, but for the most part I found this to be a real drag. The lack of energy isn't a surprise, as I never thought the filmmakers were a good fit for such a big budget movie. What does surprise me is the piss-poor scripting and storytelling. This felt like a bad 2-hour pilot to some TV show. Carol's just a bland character. It doesn't help that Larson is doing nothing with the role, but you can't really blame her considering the material. They just couldn't fight the temptation to make her so badass and above it all, and forget that we have to come to this movie to find out her personality. We come to these movies in general for some personality, like, why do you like Iron Man? It's because of Robert Downey Jr. Why do you like Captain America? It's because of Chris Evans. They have charisma, they're likable. It was just the idea behind this that didn't work. It's like she's a tough badass, she's straight-faced. You know, they could have made her a little bit more goofy. They could have made her a little bit more of a fish out of water. I mean, what's wrong with her being a female Star-Lord? Why does she have to be like the tough badass character? And I don't have a problem with it because she's a woman or anything like that. It's just a very boring character. If a man was playing this role, it would have the same issue. I mean, the fish out of water story has worked for other Marvel movies like Thor, but they don't use this to any satisfying outcome. It's weird this movie became so goddamn political when the movie isn't really about anything at all. Maybe we just live in an era where every movie is going to be political now. I'm also as confused to why the haters of this movie have decided to praise Alita Battle Angel, another bad movie, and ignore its failures at the box office. I don't know when this became a thing, so because Captain Marvel sucks so bad and we hate Brie Larson so much, we had to build up Alita and say it's this underrated masterpiece that nobody's appreciating. And everyone keeps doing this. Like, why the fuck did Alita become the movie? Is it because of the anime connection or something? I just don't get this. I keep seeing videos where people are like, Alita is badass and an awesome movie. Captain Marvel sucks. It should be more like Alita. Well, I didn't think either one of them was very good. But even if you did like Alita, why is that the film you're building up? I don't really think they're that comparable outside of the female lead, and we've had female leads in action movies and movies in general for decades now. Ben Mendelsohn is in this movie, once again being wasted as a generic bad guy in a huge blockbuster. Sure, this is better than his role in Ready Player One and Rogue One. But he couldn't save the movie from itself. Jude Law's pretty good in this too. But all the stuff with the aliens was just goofy shit. Before seeing this movie, I was excited to see the stuff fleshed out and how it connected to the overall universe. But it was all a big letdown. It's just strange how Carol Danvers feels so forced into the story, and I mean the overall story of the MCU. She gets introduced at the end of Infinity War, and we don't even really see her, and then this movie makes her a central part to everything that's happened. She's now going to play a major role in Infinity War, even though we haven't followed her like we have the other central characters being used in the story. She might work in Endgame because the Russos have a way of making whatever they touch better, but I find it a little awkward seeing her in the trailer. Why did they wait so long to set this character up? Marvel usually makes really good decisions with this stuff, but this time it all feels out of place. I mean, don't you think it's a little awkward, like they introduced this chick at the end of the last movie, this big movie they built up to over years, then they have to tell a story that goes back in time as a period piece, just so they can explain how she fits into the overall universe. I don't know why Kevin Feige's so in love with this character and wanted to make her so important, and I don't have a problem with that. Like, Black Panther's become important and popular, but he was set up much better in Civil War, same with Spider-Man. So when we got those standalone films, it just made more sense, and then when they were Infinity War, it made more sense. Her coming into Endgame after the events of Infinity War, it just feels like a left turn. And it could work. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. It could totally work, and she could be awesome in that movie. It's just, why the fuck was that the decision? Like, there had to be a more organic way to slowly introduce her into the Marvel Universe. And if you want her to be, like, one of your main characters, like, the face of the franchise for the next decade of MCU films, why not wait till you're done with this one before putting her in the center like that or having her there with Thor? I mean, I think we can wait a little while. I don't think we need to just jump onto this, but I don't know. Kevin Feige wants it. Kevin Feige gets it. So we got alien shit, a train fight, a Nick Fury Captain Marvel buddy movie, and a cat. There's a lot of pussy in this movie. Oh, and there's a blockbuster too. This certainly made Please Rewind happy. I know you want me to get into plot and motivation, but I just don't care enough to spend time on that. My overall opinion is that everyone involved was trying to do something unique and fun. However, they didn't push for anything far enough to take this movie to another level. At this point in the MCU, the standalone films need to not only be ambitious, but weird. We get the Star Force hunting down to kill the Skrulls. Carol Danvers lost her memory and is having nightmares. Jude Law is trying to help her calm down her emotions, but Carol likes to do things her way. Carol is taken hostage by the Skrulls and hooked up to a memory probe, I think. But she's able to escape and crashes onto Earth. That's when our main storyline kicks in. With Fury asked to keep an eye on Danvers. Did I like the Skrulls? Yes and no. The plot twist with them is revealed too early, but I like their design and the idea behind them. It was cool to finally see them in a Marvel movie. I know they wanted to put them in the first Avengers. I loved Brie Larson in Room. Why is she so bland in this movie?
Why do you need to know?
Maybe she's one of those actors that is good in the indies but can't level up to carry a big budget franchise movie. At least this was the first superhero movie with the female lead. Oh. Wait. Oh, and what was with the soundtrack? It's all over the place and comes in at random times throughout the goddamn movie. It's made $1 billion, so it doesn't matter what I think. I just wish people didn't use this success as a way to attack those that they don't agree with politically. I've seen so many posts about this film and Brie Larson, how she's just shut down all the racist, sexist, man-baby internet trolls that can't handle a movie with a female lead. Like this is some victory for society and culture. Even if they didn't see the movie, even if they don't like the movie, they're like, we won, we shut these fuckers down. And I think both sides are at fault. I think the people just attacking this movie, and I think the people blindly defending it despite its mediocrity, I think everyone's at fault because they're just showing their bias instead of just taking the movie for what it is. As always, people kind of miss the point. Nobody really has a problem with a female lead in an action movie. It's the lead actress coming out and showing she has a clear agenda and saying really dumb shit.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
I see so many people have defended this movie, and her in particular, and they always bring up like, oh, she just said that she wanted more diversity in films, that she wanted to be interviewed and be involved with more LGBT people, with more females, with more people of color. That's really not what she was saying. I'm so sick of that narrative. Like, I can't believe people are mad that she just wants more diversity. If you look at the things that people are pointing out in the clips and what she's saying, it's condescending. Quite frankly, it's bitchy. Bitch Larson. It's simplistic. And she's just... her point doesn't come across. Like, who gives a fuck what anybody thinks about A Wrinkle in Time? I don't care what a 6-year-old black girl thinks about it. I don't care what a 40-year-old white man thinks about it. I don't care what an 80-year-old gay woman thinks about it, because it's just a shitty movie. It bombed. Nobody liked it. I don't think it was made for anyone. Why are you saying I don't care what some 40-year-old white dude has to say about A Wrinkle in Time? Like, were they the only people that gave it negative reviews? Nobody gave it a positive review that was an old white guy? What kind of statement is that where she's just like, hey, you leave Ava DuVernay alone. She made this horrible movie for young black girls. Oh, okay. So I guess that's how you view movies now. Only the people that a movie was made for are allowed to have an opinion on it, and they're the only ones that you should listen to. She just clearly has this defense mechanism. You'll see it on her Twitter, that time she talks about the guy smiling at her and flirting with her when she was at the airport, and then she just keeps being an asshole every time someone's like, well, why do you care? Why are you making a big deal out of this? Like, you don't know what it's like to be a woman and be constantly under pressure with people trying to fuck you because I'm so good looking and you don't deserve my time. I don't owe you my time with my sexiness. Just no self-awareness. This is Brie Larson. She tries to act like she has a sense of humor. She tries to act like she's a fun, happy-go-lucky person, that she loves doing all of this. But really, she's just someone who's trying to use all of this, the comic book mythos, the MCU, everything, to make herself like a central figure in a political movement. She's using it as a power play. Not only is it disingenuous, it's kind of gross, it's kind of petty. And I think people have every right to criticize her and her comments. Now, that doesn't mean you need to just attack the overall movie and where the MCU is going and just keep making up conspiracy theories about this movie. But there is a point to be made in that people are acting like anyone who has anything critical to say about Brie Larson is just a racist. I always see that comment. People who bring up PC culture or political correctness are always white guys who don't want to get in trouble for saying racist shit. Once again, you're just simplifying everything. You know, nuance matters in these things. At least I think it does. Maybe it doesn't fucking matter anymore. Maybe it's just you're either an SJW or an alt-right. There's no middle ground anymore. I just don't know why people feel the need to blindly defend these bland female characters just because they have vaginas. Why do you need to defend Ghostbusters? We already went through this with Rey. And now anyone who criticizes Carol Danvers is labeled as an alt-right troll who hates change. On the other hand, People on the other side will act like Captain Marvel is the worst movie ever made, and bad for our culture, it's the death of the MCU. In the center of all of this, I noticed that nobody is really talking about the movie and its story. Now, why is that? Because the other talking points get more clicks and views? Probably. Or is it that there just isn't much to discuss? Whatever you feel about all of this, I think it's safe to say that we're all ready for Endgame to come out, and we can move on to something that's worth talking about. Other things about the movie. The cinematography is fine if uninspired. The editing is effective but rushed. Nothing about this stood out from any other origin story. And all of it lacks depth. All of it lacks character. I wanted to care. I really did. But they gave me nothing to care about. I like the Stan Lee cameo, so that's a win, I guess. We have so many superhero films now that it's hard to get excited about something like this. This is going to be the most important film ever made, until the next important film comes out, and then it's the most important film ever made. Let's give it a month. The journey of finding out who she is just wasn't that compelling. And that is the journey they take you on in this movie. Who is Carol Danvers? She's trying to find herself. And in trying to find herself, we're supposed to discover her too. It just doesn't work. I don't want to know this woman. I don't want to watch a movie about her. Character and tone are what make movies like this work and stay with us. As for the backlash, if anything, I think it actually helped this movie become more of a success. I think there's an irony in that all of the attacking and hate and the way that Disney was able to spin that and turn that in a way that it didn't work for Sony and Ghostbusters. I think this helped this movie make a lot more money. I think the controversy actually boosted this film. Anyway, you can wait for the DVD. I give this a 5 out of 10. As for all the people who are upset about this movie and feel the need to make 100 videos on it, 2 or 3 a day, let me give you some advice.
Forget her, dude. There's one bitch in the world, one bitch with many faces.